To ask Mr. Ade Ayeyemi, we're going to discuss a little bit the role of the private sector now, which is our fifth topic this morning. And many people clearly in the international development sector see the private sector primarily as donors, and the Ecobank, of course, is doing more than that. So I'm interested in and I think the audience would be as well, in how the Ecobank has partnered with the Global Fund, and a little bit more about the business case for doing this kind of good in the world.
Thank you. I'll start by thanking the Prime Minister, the people of Canada for hosting this today. And I'm also very happy and grateful to be among auspicious panelists here, because when you mention malaria, those are things that will have passed through in my younger ages as well. One of my colleagues this morning, he looks very young, but he said it's old age. And the meaning of that in Africa is that in the context, I might look very young to you. When I go back to my village, there's so many people that will have been taken away, and I can become one of the older people around. And that is what HIV, tuberculosis, and malaria has done, to deprive the continent, the poor people, of the resources they will have used in terms of human capital for the purpose of getting out of poverty. The business case is very simple for us. There's an African proverb that says, health is wealth. If the community is healthy, they become productive, they become good customers of ours, they become good workers for us, and they create a better marketplace that we can put our products to use. You said whether donating money is enough. Donating money is very, very important, but it is only the first condition. The second condition is that it has to be put into proper use. And that is where Ecobank and the rest of our colleagues work with Global Fund to say, okay, we work with our customers to be able to make proper payments, to have intellectual property and power in our products. They enable proper financial management to happen, proper capacity development to happen in the places where these are being used, proper visibility and accountability for the money that is being used to make sure it's being used properly, and making sure that wastages are kept to the barest minimum. And when we partner with Global Fund, it's not just to donate money, it's important, we do that, but we also put our financial tools at their disposal. We do those financial management. The second is also important to keep developing, do advisory work to develop the capacity of people that are on the ground, those recipients, to make sure they apply modern industrial company management processes to also managing the donor money. Donor money that comes to our countries are not free money to be used. They are like shareholder money that needs to be looked after and make sure it gets to where it's supposed to go. We do that. And more importantly, we then go forward and do advocacy. You will have heard my colleagues yesterday talking about how do we make it easier for things to be done in our countries. How do we make sure we can bring the private sector, we can bring the government? Because at the end of the day, while we are forever going to be grateful for the West for making substantial donations, but these problems will only be solved when the communities themselves becomes wealthy enough to be able to respond to the needs of their own community. We have to make sure that as we go forward, the money that is being donated is put into businesses within the country so that we can bring up people in the society and they know that this is how to get things done to make sure it becomes businesses. So Ecobank, whether it is ourselves as a firm, it's our people, 20,000 of us that are working in the continent, working with our customer, working with all the partners to be able to bring as many people into solving the problem. We put our intellectual capital in play, we put our financial capital in play, put an organizational capital in play to make sure that happens. Financial capital is very, very important, but you need the organization, you need the intellect to make it actually be very, very effective. And you need the advocacy and working with our governments to make sure that we are proper recipients of the funds. Thank you.
Thank you. I just wanted to pick up then. So, I mean, you commented on need for that stronger local capacity to be able to execute against those goals. But I'm wondering how the private sector and Ecobank specifically have been working across the Sustainable Development Goals to promote the health and well-being of women and girls especially, but in particular those that are the hardest to reach and often the most vulnerable. If there are certain strategies that you have perhaps facilitated or found to be more successful.
Thank you. I will describe for you how in a village a woman saves money. In the urban area and the developed part of the world, when a woman wants to save, you go to your bank account and you deposit the money there. In rural Africa, when a woman wants to save, he buys a goat, he buys some chicken, and he keeps them until the money is needed. At the point the money is needed, the woman then goes to the market and makes the sale. Look at the transaction costs of somebody. All you want to do is just save. And you have to buy a goat, you have to feed the goat, and you have to then find out at the point you need the money, there is a buyer for the goat for you. What we need to do is to make access to financial services in terms of savings for that woman to be easier. If it becomes easier, then she no longer needs to buy a goat and feed the goat until the money is needed. And hope that at the time the money is needed, if it is for health services for herself or children, that there is a buyer for that goat. Our job at Ecobank is to bring the next 100 million people in the continent to be included in the financial system. And we are 10 million today customers. But we believe that that can be done, and we are doing as much as we can using the infrastructure of mobile that is available in our countries and in our continent to ensure that as large number of people can get into the financial system. Today, that is easy. When somebody asks me, how long does it take to open an account? I would say it's 2 minutes. How long do we do it today? In the urban area, maybe 1 week. In other places, maybe a month. And for so many people, maybe not at all. And they ask me, so what will it take to make sure that you can actually make the 2 minutes to 5 minutes available to everybody? I need identification. In some of our countries, identification is easier. It's because we have an ID card, I can quickly open an account for you. In some of our countries, identification is not easy. So we are working with our governments to make sure that we can know who the people are, and therefore we can engage them. We believe that when we can get microfinance into play, where people can make small savings, and at the point when they need money, they can go do small loans, we believe that they will have a better society and they'll be able to grow their own economy. We believe that when we talk about remittances, it's not just global. It's for those child that is living in the city to be able to send small money to the grandparents and the parents in the village. The extent that he can get there instantly is what Ecobank has invested in. Because even if it is just $2, if it gets there very late, if $100 gets very late to somebody that needs $2, it's no longer useful. And our firm, as a company, is to make sure, and we've done that, that from the time of transferring, for somebody that is in Lagos, to transfer to somebody in Lome, Togo, it can happen instantly. And that is the beginning, because once we are able to connect everybody in the continent through financial services, we believe that we have a better continent. And when people trade together very well, most likely they will not fight each other, because the link between poverty and political corruption and a lot of problem is well established. And what we're trying to do is put in both our intellect, our advocacy, and creating a financial inclusion and creating a situation where not only are we dealing with today's customers, we are preparing products for tomorrow's customers, and we are also working with our governments in terms of advocacy on what needs to be done to include the next 100 million Africans in financial services. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much.